100%, because I care about you.
Mm-hmm.
How would you...
Here's another great analogy. Have you ever heard of Tom Woods? Thomas E. Woods Jr.?
I've heard the name, but enlighten us.
I played a little bit of his clips earlier. He's a historian and a libertarian activist. He has his own podcast, Tom Woods Show. He also was helping out in the Ron Paul campaign.
Nice.
Really smart, informative guy. I definitely highly recommend. I played a little bit of his clips last episode. I definitely recommend people check out his show. But he's making a great analogy how we've accepted the handouts from the government in order to have the so-called freedom and the ability to express our constitutional rights of individual freedom and liberty and so on. It was making the idea of, let's say we go out as a group of 10
right,
out to a bar, and 9 out of those 10 vote that you're paying the tab for our drinks. Now, that doesn't sound like a good idea, but it doesn't matter because 9 of us outvoted you. There's 9 of us. There's only 1 of you. So you have to buy our drinks. And that's exactly how our society is run today when you're talking about all of these, for example, entitlement programs, whether it's welfare or Medicare, Medicaid, whatever the case may be, all these entitlement programs, that's the government forcing the people to make that vote that 9 out of 10 of us, there's 10 of us going out to have a drink, and 9 of us are voting that you're going to pay for it. Well, maybe I don't want to pay for it. I don't want to pay for 9 people. I can't afford to. Well, it doesn't matter. You're outvoted.
Yeah.
So it's this idea that we're a democratic society when in truth we're not. We are a Republican. We're a Republican for exactly that reason, because that's insane that the majority can choose that I'm going to pay for everyone else at the barrel of a gun. You're going to force me to do something. I work for that money. That's my hard-earned money that I worked for, that now you're going to force me to hand over to these other 9 individuals because you say so. Yeah,
and at the end of the day, that's exactly what the politician will say is, well, we voted on it.
Right.
It doesn't matter what you think.
And
we passed it.
And if you look at it really honestly, that's not even the case. That's the craziest part, is that the majority doesn't vote that way. The majority does not say 9 out of 10 of us want you to pay for our drinks. The majority of Americans don't do that.
Yeah, they don't question it, though.
The majority of Americans don't want amnesty. But yet they'll turn around. They'll just because they say so. Just because they say, well, the majority of Americans want us to. No, they don't. That's not true. Even if it was true, let's say for the sake of argument, even if it was true that the majority of Americans say A, B, and C, that doesn't make it morally right. But that doesn't matter, because the majority of Americans don't say that. So that part's irrelevant. That doesn't matter. The majority of Americans don't say that. That's not what the majority of Americans vote for. But they just say it. They just say it, and because I say it, it must be so. It's just like my friend that I debate with all the time, that's a huge Obama supporter. And his arguments are always, well, Obama said this and Obama said that. Well, of course he said that. You're going on what the man said. He's a politician. Of course he said that. But just because he said it doesn't make it so.
It's so hard to break out of that mindset,
right,
though, that, like, okay, this guy is a politician. He must be telling the truth. Think about how many kids, and within my own, religion, that, within my own religion of Catholicism, we're like, well, he's a priest. He must be a good guy. And then they got molested or raped. You have to, like, at some point, question it and say, why do I believe in this person specifically? I mean, that's all I'm calling on people to do. Right,
exactly. We just got another message from neo-Nazi dumb
F***CK.
And he says, faggots. Well, first of all, mister, that is not politically correct. Second of all, yes, I am a big old faggot, and I would love for you to put your penis in and around all of my face holes, my ear, my nose. Please cover me in your neo-Nazi jism.
So you are a Nazi, and just for argument's sake, explain your Nazi position. You must be literate. And if you can make us understand it, I will let you have a little piece of this segment. And I'm pretty sure that won't happen, judging by your name. So, but we do appreciate your comments.
Thank you, Neo-Nazi. Appreciate it. And you turned me on, by the way.
If anybody out there has anything actually intelligible to say or to integrate, I'd love to have you guys either call in or go to the chat on Spreaker. The title of this episode is News, Libertarianism and Obama. So if you have any comments on any of those subjects, feel free. Try to keep it relevant. These last two comments don't really go anywhere. So
right. And if you actually have testicles, you can call us live on air, and we'll be happy to have a conversation with you live on air. The number to call once again is 754-999-0468. Again, that's 754-999-0468. Give us a call if you have anything relatively intelligent to say. We'd love to hear from you.
Very good.
Right on.
So, what's happening in the news now?
It's been a pretty slow news week for the most part. I know Bill Cosby is running into a lot of trouble.
Why did they wait till now?
That's a good question.
Bill Cosby, like, you know what? When it comes to those types of ordeals, I tend not to judge at all because I don't actual information. I wasn't there. I don't know if these women are trying to get money. You don't know if they slept with him. He may have actually seduced a few women or something over his time. You know, he is a star.
Right. And
they slept with him and they're like, oh, here's my chance to get money. I don't know what's happening. So those kinds of topics I tend to veer away from without having seen anything concrete myself.
Right.
Which is the same standard that hold politicians to when they talk.
And the sad truth is that a lot of times, unfortunately, it is just money being the motivating factor. I don't know if that's the case here, or that's not what I'm saying in the least, but I think for the most part, I mean, I might just be stating the obvious. I'm sure most people know that that money is the main driving motivating factor behind, but who knows? I mean, he may unfortunately genuinely have done these horrible, despicable things.
Well, in Drudge Report, Latin America applauds Obama's immigration move. And so to that, I just want to say, yeah, if you want to come into a country illegally and you are that person that's illegal, of course you're going to applaud it. Right. That's silly.
Right. It means literally less than nothing. Because that's the whole point. The reason behind all of it is
to get the support of people.
To gain something. Right. They're after something. You have the powers that be that are putting those things into place because they want something. They want your votes. They want you to lean their way. And then what you get in return is a bunch of free stuff. Which isn't really free. It comes out of my tax dollars. Whether it's education, medical care, employment, whatever the case may be, all those things cost something to someone. So of course you're going to applaud it, but it means, because you're applauding it, again, means less than nothing. Here's another interesting article here that comes to you from a Drudge Report via the Jerusalem Post, exclusive. Cornered but unbound by nuclear pact, Israel reconsiders military action against Iran. Israel officials cites sunset clause in proposed comprehensive deal which guarantees Iran a path into nuclear club and may corner Israel into war. Why don't you go ahead and take this one?
All right, let's scroll to the top of that. Washington. Historic negotiations with Iran will reach an inflection point on Monday, as world powers seek to clinch a comprehensive deal that will, to their satisfaction, end concerns over current proposals guarantee the perpetuation of a crisis, backing Israel into a corner from which military force against Iran provides the only logical exit. The deal on the table. World powers have presented Iran with an accord that will restrict its nuclear program for roughly 10 years and cap its ability to produce fissile material for a weapon during that time to a minimum 9-month additional period from the current 3 months. Should Tehran agree, the deal may rely on Russia to convert Iran's current uranium stockpile into fuel rods for peaceful use. The proposal would also include an inspection regime that would attempt to follow the program's entire supply chain, from the mining of raw material to the siphoning of that material to various nuclear facilities across Iran. Israel's leaders believe that the best of a worst-case scenario, should that deal be reached, is for inspections to go perfectly and for Iran to choose to abide by the deal for the entire decade-long period. But, quote unquote, our intelligence agencies are not perfect, an Israeli official said. We did not know for years about Natanz and Qam. And inspection regimes are certainly not perfect. They weren't in the case of North Korea, and it isn't the case now. Iran's been giving the IAEI the runaround for years about its past activities. What's going to happen with that? The official continued. Are they going to sweep that under the rug if there's a deal? On Saturday afternoon, reports from Vienna suggested the P5+1, the U.S., United Kingdom, France, Russia, China, and Germany are willing to stop short of demanding full disclosure of any secret weapons work by Tehran. Speaking to the Post, a senior U.S. official rejected concern over limited surveillance capabilities during or after a deal. If we can conclude a comprehensive agreement, we will have significantly more ability to detect covered facilities, even after its duration is over, than we do today, the senior U.S. official said. After the duration of the agreement, the most intrusive inspections will continue. The additional protocol, which encompasses very intrusive transparency and which Iran has already said it will implement, will continue. Now, the very interesting thing about all these topics and the transparency is we in the U.S. don't reflect transparency.
Right.
At all.
No.
And the UN is definitely not transparent. Where does this all lead to?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and the fact that you can pretty much guarantee that anytime they talk about transparency, it's exactly the opposite. What a lot of people have to remember and realize is that they're not going to be transparent with you, and whenever you're reading articles or listening to a news bite or whatever the case may be, it's always important to note what they're not saying.
Yeah, right.
Because there is no transparency. It's all as far as they say transparency and transparent so that you believe that they're being transparent.
Right.
When they're being exactly the opposite. It's a really cheap and kind of juvenile game that they play, but they play it because it works. Because we are cheap, we are juvenile, we are children, and enough of us aren't awake yet. And so they pretty much count on that, and they know that they can say the word transparent, and if they say it, well, then it must be true.
Because it came in a newspaper.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. And they say the words, just like they when they hear Obama say the things that he says, well, he said it, so since he said it, that must be the truth. When you can pretty much guarantee, based on history alone, that anything that they say, expect exactly the opposite to be the fact.
Yeah, for sure. Like shutting Guantanamo down, Guantanamo, and no more wars and bringing all the U.S. troops home. Good job, Obama. You got my thumbs up on that. But Bush, no, Bush is not our president. Please hold the accountable party accountable.
You know, it was really funny. Richard, Dr. Bamonte had sent me an article the other day, and I'm kind of bummed out that I don't have the article right now to kind of read what it says verbatim. But it's really funny and interesting. It was an article, I don't even know what paper it was from, but it was from a Canadian writer, basically praising Obama and not expressing how they don't understand how the majority of Americans are anti-Obama and are against him, and the article ending with, well, you know, when you're done with him, send him over here, because we love him, he's great, he's a socialist, and that's awesome. What was interesting, however, from that article is that everything that they pointed to in regards to Obama's accomplishments, the one thing that they didn't touch on was Obamacare. coming from a writer in a country where they have socialized medicine.